Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I welcome all of you. Now, let me just get a few things out of my chest, because the first thing I want to emphasize, ladies and gentlemen, for all those watching at home, if you've never seen any of the stuff I've ever done before, then I very rarely use any scripts, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not ashamed of not using any scripts whatsoever, because, to be honest, I don't think, with the way I do my videos, I particularly do pretty well if I was, scripted. Because just, for me, some of the things I say and some of the things I want to come out with, they are, in my opinion, as genuine as you can get. Not because I'm going unscripted, only because you could possibly, I don't know, maybe tell from, my voice going all wavery, and it's a little difficult for me to, look straight into the camera, that it's actually taken quite a lot of courage and quite a lot of guts to say some of the things that I absolutely want to say. The first thing I want to say, ladies and gentlemen, is maybe I should start about why exactly I started doing YouTube at all. Why I even bothered starting, making videos back over 4 years ago. What was the point to me doing all this? The short answer is that back in 2018, there was this YouTube channel run by a man called King KTF that I watched quite a lot back in the day, and he was excitable, he was loud, he took a lot in, because he was a guy who was basically listened to nothing but rap music, and then decided that he wanted to start getting into metal and hard rock. And it went off with a hitch, and a lot of people really liked his approach. A lot of people really liked his enthusiasm. A lot of people really liked how mature he was, and he was a man who was very much full of life, and that's extremely, extremely commendable. And I know that I think KTF has stopped making videos for about a year or so now. I wonder if it's just because there's stuff going on in his personal life that he'd rather not bring into here. Maybe that's possibly a reason, but I think that should be his business. I think that should just be between him and whatever he wants to do for the rest of his life. So I'm more than happy to say that that's what I think about that. The longer explanation, ladies and gentlemen, is quite different. It's that when you think, because I'll have to point out exactly where I was in space and time at this point. It was the end of my second year at university. I hated my time at university, ladies and gentlemen. I absolutely make no exaggeration about it. I absolutely hated my time at university, because throughout all the time I was at university, not once was I ever asked anything about what my opinion was of this. What did I think of that? Did I have any strong feelings geared towards this, that, and the other? I felt like, with how I felt like I was treated and what they were teaching me, I honestly, you know what? I'll just say right now, I felt let down. I didn't feel like I was in the right frame of mind to think about doing any good when I was at university. And based on some of the responses I got when I was at university, I didn't have any faith or any sort of inkling that I was going to get anything from university at all. And that's just true, ladies and gentlemen. And if there's anybody out there who wants to, come at me and say that I'm wrong, feel free. We'll try and have a discussion about that. I'm interested to hear what some of your takes probably might be to that, if you think I'm lying. But personally, ladies and gentlemen, you weren't there and I was. Why can't I be the one to say that's what I felt like, because that's how it happened? I need to put the bigger light on. Right, there we go. Seems stupid, really, to have 3 sets of lights on and it's still bright outside, but there you are. This is just sort of what I'm used to. So there I was, basically felt like I was being set up for failure, and set up to have almost no real sort of ambition or future whatsoever. You don't think that sort of thing affects you, ladies and gentlemen? Well, let me tell you what it does. It affects you incredibly hard. I was put into a position where I felt like no matter how hard I tried, no matter how much I begged, no matter how many nights I went sleepless, no matter how much I put my heart and soul into what I did, no matter how much I wanted to explain exactly what I wanted to do, no matter all of that, they wouldn't. I felt personally, ladies and gentlemen, that I was simply not accepted. And that is incredibly disheartening. And my heart goes out there right now to anyone around the world now who does not feel accepted in the world. That's like, I think that is one of the, and I was only like 20 years old back then. When I was 21, and this was the day, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you the day when I felt like they just straight up told me they couldn't give a shit about me. Let me tell you exactly what happened. We were having some sort of like miniature lecture. The head of the department, the professor, was talking to about like 6 or 7 of us. They were doing all this, and this. He was asking a question, and I was like, he was sat here, and I was sat here. So basically, I was like, we were looking at each other, and I gave him the answer, and he didn't acknowledge it. So I said it again. And again, he looked around as though he didn't acknowledge me. And it's not like I was mumbling or anything like that. It would be very, very difficult for him, not to notice this. So the third time, we were looking at each other and I said it. And his eyes wandered and he asked somebody else. Let me tell you exactly what I did next, ladies and gentlemen. Because in many ways, I regret absolutely what I did next. Because in many ways, it wasn't clever. It wasn't bright. It wasn't the sort of things you might come to associate with me if you've known me for the last 4 years. This is what I did, right? I got up. I walked backwards. I collected my stuff, put my laptop in my bag, packed everything up, saved, closed everything, did all that, done all that. It was about like 2:15 in the afternoon. I did that. Got all my stuff together, went home, got home by about 3 o'clock in the afternoon on either Tuesday or Wednesday or something like that. And I made a vow, ladies and gentlemen, that for the 3 months that I had left at university, I would make it a point of honor to go there, do what I need to do, not say a word to anybody, lecturers, students, anything like that. I made a vow not to speak to anybody from university ever again. To me, ladies and gentlemen, they were not worth my time and effort. And I don't consider myself an egotistical man. I don't consider myself somebody who is stricken with, embarrassment or anything like that. I don't really consider myself to have much like embarrassment or shame, because in that instance, all I could think to myself was, well, what did I have to be shameful for? I was talking to them, I was engaging in what they were trying to do, and they 3 times ignored me. And I felt that they just did that just to humiliate me and to make me look stupid. I don't think they could have cared the slightest bit about what I had to say. And there was good illustration for this. Right about the middle of October of 2018. I know I'm dragging this out just a bit, but I want to illustrate this. I went over exactly what I wanted to do for my final project, for my animation course. I went through, I explained it. I was, I did the sort of things you would do, and just was explaining about why and the references and that. One kid, right, a Filipino kid, right, he said that he looked at it and he said there wasn't really anything original about it. And I just sort of sat there, and in my mind, I feel like my jaw just dropped. Because you know what he did next, this kid? He was the next one to do it, right? And he explained, and nobody else had anything to say about this, by the way. Not even one of the lecturers who wanted to observe this. This one kid almost immediately opened up by saying that if I didn't get a spot at this university, I probably would have killed myself. That's his opening gambit. And it seemed as if they were hanging on every word he had to say after that. Guys, I want to illustrate something. I want to make something absolutely very, very clear. If you're actually going to use something as dark as suicide to gain clout, even before that, you will literally just tear me a new arsehole, and you won't even explain why it's not the things you said they were. If you're going to do something like that, that was the biggest slap in the face I think I've ever received in my life. Even worse than, I'm trying to think, I've never actually been in a fight before, but I felt like that was the biggest slap in the face since I was told that I couldn't go to my sixth form graduation because they couldn't be bothered to take me. If I could have walked out of university and literally never come back, I probably would have, because you know what? I don't think I've ever been so insulted in my life. The more I think about it, those two cases, right there. Or that one time when I was doing a lecture in my second year, and all the professor had to do or say in response, he gave everybody else responses. All this guy had to do was just put one hand over his face and shake it in disbelief. And this guy got a fucking doctorate the same year I graduated. You could even see the way I'm acting right now. I feel like I want to pull my hair out. I need to blow my nose before we go any further. Of course, I have to fucking back. Ugh. Right, sorry about that. Okay, let me think. Where was I? So I went through all of that, and even during my first year, I had a lecturer who said that I should, if you're gonna make a YouTube channel, don't make yourself as scarce. And she was saying all this with a laugh on her face. I get the feeling that the sort of people that were at my university were training them to be psychopaths, literally to tear any young boy's dreams apart. That's what I felt like that place was to me. Like something as close as hell as you can imagine. So I went through all that. And then when I decided I was going to make a YouTube channel because I literally I needed some outlet, something to take my mind off how meaningless my life sort of was at this point, I just went for it. And I started reviewing rock music. I started reviewing metal music. I was pumping out something like close to 4 videos a day on a very consistent basis. And I got to meet a whole bunch of new people. I got to make a whole bunch of new friends. I was happy for the first time for a very long time because, you know what? I felt like I actually kind of belonged somewhere a little bit. Unlike that time when, just before I was starting university, I actually kind of wanted to join the LGBTQ society university. And this is how kind those people were, by the way. There was the first group seminar or whatever hangout. They gave me the wrong time and the wrong address, and they didn't seem to care either way. They didn't apologize to me. A lot of the people were very, very rude to me about this. And for about 2 more weeks went, they were consistently rude to me when I wanted to raise a question and wondered, why they were lying to me. And I decided to leave, telling them that I thought they were some of the rudest people I think I've ever met in my life. Oh, and then again, there was also that Labour Society at the university, which had close to almost no members. There was technically a president, and there was like a £5 entry fee. And I'm now convinced that entire society was literally a scam, because we received no emails, nothing. I felt like, ladies and gentlemen, that they literally wanted to make my life as miserable as they could. It's taken me a long time to accept that, but that's what it feels like. And again, if you want to say I think I'm over-exaggerating these sort of things, well, why don't I feel like that's not the case? Why do I feel like what I said is actually the truth? Why do I feel like, for once, I actually know I'm doing the right thing by calling them out on this? Because like I said, they didn't want to answer anything about what they've done. They didn't want to answer any of my questions. They didn't want to answer any queries I raised. They didn't want to give me any proper feedback. They literally wanted to shove the middle finger as far up my arsehole as it could go. That was university, ladies and gentlemen. That was my experience of university. That I wouldn't wish that on anyone. I'm not joking, ladies and gentlemen. I do not wish that would ever happen to anyone. So, as I was doing YouTube and I was getting into it, and once university was all over, I continued working. I was, by the time I got to the end of my first little venture on YouTube, I had over 3,000 videos released in 2 years. I had about 6 YouTube channels, all in my name, and I was pumping out videos consistently. I was making friends among bands like Methane, Chaos Over Cosmos, among others. They were very, very nice, and they even made shout-out videos for me, and I'll never forget that. You don't ever forget the sort of things that what true friends will do for you. I'll never forget that. And then when because we're coming up to 2 years basically since my first run came to an end, was when the story is that a group called Hellgarden, they wanted me to check out their music, as I've done for quite a number of other groups before. And I said how I could probably help them by getting a little bit of extra exposure by me doing one of those little, just to demonstrate my skills, just to try and do a little a little demo of trying to remaster some of their stuff, just through very primitive technology on Adobe Audition and stuff like that. It was, just a bit of fun, and it was just because I've done that for other groups as well, and it seemed absolutely fine in their case. And well, basically, that a company called Brutal Music, I don't know if these are the same guys that owned Hellgarden, they copyright striked every video I did of their music, and within a few days, all of my videos were gone. That was basically the story of how it all came to an end. And I remember too, I was sat here just playing Overwatch or something like that. I decided to go onto YouTube to check out my channels, and it was all gone. There was absolutely nothing left. And I spent a good number of days trying to contact YouTube, trying to contact Hellgarden, trying to contact Brutal Music about is there some way we could have this resolved? Because I felt like the punishment it didn't necessarily fit the crime. And I do admit that I was an idiot in this case, but you know what? This hardly seemed like a very difficult thing to resolve. Just we'll just lift those strikes and I'll get rid of the videos. That seems, that seems pretty fair to me. I kept up my end of the deal, and I always had a suspicion that all the groups that I talk to and the ones that agree to check out their music, that they won't really go to keep up their end of the deal by, promoting my channel or anything like that. That's not entirely the case, but there were plenty of others where I was sort of convinced myself that literally they just did this just to get like a free, just to get something out of it. And they probably saw me as someone that's just powerless to demand any like level of like respect or integrity whatsoever. I'm pretty accustomed to that, ladies and gentlemen, which is why a lot of people have like made complaints about me and shouted at me and like called for people to like, say, why are you talking to them like this? But you know what? It's all right for them to talk to me like that. You know what? What's wrong now then? Did they think it was right when they called me all those sort of things? Did they think it was okay when they did all this to me? Did they think it was okay to manipulate me? Was it all right for them to make me look stupid? Was it all right for them to insult my intelligence? Was it all right for them to think that they were the ones who were in the right and I was the one in the wrong? It's sort of like the way I look at it now. Anyway, so emboldened by this disaster, I got back onto YouTube, made new channels, spent close to a whole year off of YouTube, almost entirely, specifically just to make videos to release all on the 1st of January. Not really many people were that interested, unfortunately. And to be honest, the majority of this year, I mean, we're now in August, and to be honest, the beginning of this whole year has sort of just felt like me sitting back and going, well, that was a complete waste of time. Why even bother trying anything ever again? I'm only going to be disappointed by it. And that's really for the majority of what YouTube has sort of been like for me, to be honest. Any amount of effort I put into anything, any time or care or consideration I put into talking about certain things, whenever I did anything like that, I was always under the impression that it was all going to be for nothing. I got into this mindset so much that, you know what, over very, very small things, ladies and gentlemen, like, was I going to be concerned whether or not I was going to be a minute before or after my usual time of getting to work? If it was a minute later, I honestly, it would throw me so far off my stride, I literally almost would just sulk for the rest of the day. Or if it was a minute earlier, I would almost kind of sulk because I wanted a bit more time to just relax and stay in bed or something like that. There was plenty of days where it almost doesn't feel like worth getting out of bed because I have to go to a job that I've been there for over 2 years, could be ending very, very shortly, and I don't particularly think I'm going to be missed all that much. And like I said, I don't get asked anything. I don't get asked about my opinions. I don't get asked about what I think or feel about certain topics. I'm just there to do what they pay me to do and nothing else. I want to actually, you know what? I want to do something that means that people will listen to me. I want to do something that makes people think that I've got a lot more to say than people will ever give me credit for. I want my integrity back. I want my dignity back. I want my intelligentsia back. I want to feel like a human being again. I want to feel. That's what I want. I want to feel like a human being again. Right now, I feel like I'm just pretending of being one. Whilst all around me, I feel like all I do nowadays is just see people who are having more fun than I am. And I don't like that. I want to have some fun as well. So that's really where we are at right now. YouTube has literally been the single biggest mistake of my life. And I hated every single second of it. But here's why I don't regret it. Because despite all of my suffering, despite all of the neglect, despite all of the feelings of spite that a lot of people hold towards me and I hold massively towards them, despite all of that, despite people telling me that it's a really foolish idea to do things out of revenge, despite all of these things, the only thing I want to say right now, ladies and gentlemen, is this. There will come a day, maybe in 10 years, maybe in 5 years, maybe tomorrow, where perhaps, ladies and gentlemen, when I'm successful, when I have everything that I possibly need, when I feel like people will have started to take me seriously once again, that this period of my life, difficult, hard, unrewarding, all of those things, there will come a time, ladies and gentlemen, where this will just feel like a part of the process. I know that there have been plenty of people out there who say that, you know what, it's going to be okay, we have your back and stuff like that. And I absolutely am very grateful for that. It's just sometimes I wish I actually had something of like merit to demonstrate that I was doing something of worth. And I don't want to get into egotism or money or anything like that, but so, you know, something like that. That's what I want. I just want, you know, to feel like I've been rewarded for something. And you know what? You can't reward somebody because they've suffered. It just doesn't work like that. Meanwhile, actually, you know what? That's made me feel rather good. It's made me feel rather good that I managed to get all of this off my stomach. And let's see where we can go from here. Maybe in some way I might have set myself free just a little bit by letting all of this go. This might not be the case, but hopefully if you've watched this, maybe at least I've sort of halved my problems in some way. I can't really ask more for that. Take care, ladies and gentlemen, and hope I probably in the next couple of videos or something like that, we'll have happier things to talk about. Fucking news, I want to shut the fuck up. Sorry, I just, bad timing, and it made my heart race just a little bit. So there we go. Thanks very much, and I'll look forward to seeing all of you guys again in the next video. Take care, and good night.